I never thought a night like that would unravel everything. It was supposed to be just another casual hangout, a chance to catch up after weeks of busy schedules. The air was easy at first, filled with laughter and the clinking of mugs, but beneath it all, something was already simmering quietly. We sat across from each other, the soft glow of the lamp casting long shadows on the walls. I noticed his glance flicker toward his phone more times than usual, and a knot tightened in my stomach. There was a hesitation in his smile, like he was holding back something, and I couldn't shake the feeling that things weren't as simple as they seemed. The moment it all broke open was sudden and sharp. I caught his phone light up with a message, and curiosity got the better of me. Without thinking, I reached over and glanced at the screen. It was a name I hadn't expected to see, someone from our past, someone I thought was no longer part of our story. When he noticed, his face changed instantly. The easy warmth drained, replaced by a cold defensiveness. I asked him about the message, and what followed was a storm of half-truths and silence. The trust I'd taken for granted suddenly felt fragile and distant, like a glass that could shatter with the slightest touch. Words flew faster than I could catch them, accusations tangled with confusion and hurt. We circled around each other, trying to explain, to justify, but the deeper we dug, the more tangled the web became. Secrets spilled out, some small, some seismic, and each revelation felt like a fresh wound. I remember the way his eyes darted away when I asked the hard questions, how his hands clenched the edge of the table as if trying to hold himself together. There was a crack in his armor, but instead of opening up, he retreated, leaving me stranded in a sea of doubt and betrayal. The room felt suffocating, every breath heavy with the weight of what was unsaid. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but all that came out was a trembling voice and tears I couldn't hold back. It was like watching the person I trusted most slip away right in front of me. Time lost meaning as we argued, the clocks ticking drowned out by the storm inside. Memories we'd shared flashed in my mind, moments of laughter, late-night talks, plans for the future. And now, those memories felt tainted, overshadowed by doubt and fear. I tried to remind myself that everyone makes mistakes, that trust can be rebuilt, but the damage felt searing and immediate. The foundation of our friendship, once so solid, now seemed cracked and unstable. I wasn't sure if we could ever go back to the way things were. The argument wasn't just about the message on the phone or the secrets kept. It was about the silence between us, the things we chose not to say until it all exploded. It was about the fragile nature of trust, how easily it can be broken and how hard it is to mend. By the end of that night, exhaustion had taken over. We sat in silence, the storm passing but leaving wreckage behind. Neither of us wanted to be the first to reach out, and the space between us felt colder than ever. I realized then that trust isn't given lightly, it's earned, guarded, and sometimes painfully lost. Even now, days later, the echoes of that night linger. I replay our words, the sharp edges of anger and pain cutting deeper than I thought possible. I wonder if this argument was a breaking point or the beginning of something new, something neither of us fully understands yet. I don't have all the answers. I just know that trust, once shaken, leaves a mark that can't be erased. And sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones fought in silence, in the spaces where love and doubt collide. This is my story of how one argument changed everything, leaving me to navigate the uncertain path ahead. That night has become a turning point, a moment frozen in time where everything shifted. The easy comfort of our friendship gave way to suspicion and pain. I found myself questioning not just him, but my own judgment and what it truly means to trust someone with your heart. I remember the way his voice cracked when he finally tried to explain, the hesitation in his words as he struggled to bridge the growing gap between us. It was raw and imperfect, but it was all I had to hold on to, a fragile thread in the darkness. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. And sometimes, the only way to survive that hurt is to face it head-on, no matter how terrifying it feels. We sat there for what felt like hours, the room thick with unspoken emotions. Neither of us knew how to fix what was broken, and the silence between us was louder than any argument. I wondered if this was the end or just the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter. As I left that night, the chill of the cool air outside felt like a physical reminder of the distance growing between us. The familiar path home felt unfamiliar, shadowed by the weight of doubt and unanswered questions. Since then, every message, every call feels loaded with the past. I catch myself hesitating before replying, afraid of what might be hidden beneath the surface. Trust, once shattered, leaves behind shards that cut deep with every step forward. I've tried to push the pain aside, to pretend that things will go back to normal, but deep down I know that nothing will ever be quite the same. That argument opened a door to a world where trust is fragile, and every word carries a hidden risk. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the person I thought I knew, the friend who laughed with me, shared secrets, and promised honesty. But those moments are fleeting, swallowed by the uncertainty that now colors every interaction. I don't want to lose what we had, yet I'm terrified of losing myself in the process. The line between forgiveness and forgetting is blurry, and I'm not sure which side I'm willing to stand on. Every day is a challenge to rebuild what was broken, to find a way back to trust without ignoring the pain. It's a delicate dance, filled with hope and fear, where one wrong step could mean falling apart completely. I wish I could go back to that night and change everything, to prevent the hurt and the silence that followed. But the past is a shadow we can't outrun, and the future remains uncertain, waiting for us to decide what comes next. In the end, this story isn't just about a fight or a broken promise. It's about the fragile, complicated nature of trust, and the courage it takes to face the cracks and try to mend them, or walk away when the damage is too deep. I'm still here, still trying to make sense of it all, one day at a time. The argument changed everything, but it also forced me to look at myself and what I truly value. And maybe, just maybe, that's how healing begins. But for now, the night lingers in my mind like a storm still raging beneath the surface, unresolved, raw, and impossible to ignore. It's strange how one small moment can unravel years of friendship. That night, the air between us shifted, thick with tension and unspoken fears. It was like watching a fragile glass slip from your hands, shattering into pieces you're not sure you want to pick up. I thought we had an unbreakable bond, built on honesty and shared experiences. But that argument peeled back the layers, revealing doubts and hidden truths that had been lurking beneath the surface all along. Looking back, I realize how easy it is to mistake silence for peace. We had been avoiding the cracks, pretending everything was fine, until the pressure became too much and everything burst out in anger and tears. The hardest part was the feeling of betrayal, not just by him, but by my own assumptions and trust. I felt like I was standing on a road I thought I knew, only to find it leading to a place I didn't recognize. Even now, I can't decide if the fight was a necessary reckoning or a destructive force that pushed us further apart. The lines between right and wrong blurred in the heat of the moment, leaving only pain and confusion in its wake. That night, the words we exchanged felt like both weapons and wounds. Every accusation cut deep, every denial built a wall. I wanted to reach through the chaos and find the truth, but truth proved slippery, hiding behind fear and pride. I remember the silence that followed the storm, heavier than the fight itself. We sat there, exhausted and broken, each of us nursing wounds that no apology could instantly heal. Since then, the way we communicate has changed. There's a cautiousness now, a hesitation to fully open up. Trust, once given freely, now feels like something to be earned again, step by painful step. I find myself replaying moments, searching for signs I missed, wondering if there was a way to prevent the fallout. But hindsight is a cruel teacher, offering clarity only after the damage is done. The nights are hardest, when everything is quiet and my mind races through the argument, the accusations, the silence. It's like a loop I can't break, dragging me deeper into doubt and sadness. Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever find our way back to the trust we once had, or if this argument marked the beginning of the end. The uncertainty is exhausting, but I can't ignore the hope that maybe, somehow, we still can. It's strange how trust can feel so tangible one moment and so fragile the next, like a delicate thread stretched too thin, ready to snap. That night, I learned just how easily that thread can break. I don't have a clear path forward yet. Some days I want to fight to repair what was lost. Other days I wonder if letting go is the only way to protect myself from more pain. But amid the confusion and hurt, I'm learning about boundaries and honesty, about what it means to trust someone, and to trust myself enough to walk away if I have to. That argument changed everything, but it also opened a door to new possibilities, messy and uncertain as they are. And maybe that's where the real story begins. I still remember the moment the argument ignited, how quickly the air shifted from warm to charged, how words flew like sparks setting everything ablaze. It was terrifying and heartbreaking all at once. In the heat of the moment, emotions ran wild. Hurt, anger, fear, they all collided and tangled in ways I never expected. I felt like I was losing not just a friend, but a part of myself. He said things I didn't want to hear, and I said things I regret. The fight wasn't just about the message or the secrets. It was about the cracks we'd been ignoring, waiting for the storm to expose. After the argument, the silence was deafening. We both needed space, but felt trapped by the weight of what had happened. It was the kind of silence that screams louder than any words could. I tried to reach out, to bridge the gap, but the hesitation in his voice made me wonder if the damage was deeper than either of us realized. Trust isn't easy to rebuild once broken, and the path back felt long and uncertain. Sometimes I catch myself hesitating before sharing, afraid the same pattern might repeat. Trust, once so natural, has become a guarded treasure, and that changes everything about how I relate to him and to others. I never imagined that a single night could shift the foundation of our relationship so drastically. Now, every interaction carries the weight of that night, a reminder of how delicate trust truly is. But despite everything, a part of me still hopes. Hope that we can find a way to be honest again, to face the hard truths without breaking apart. It feels fragile, but it's there, a quiet flicker in the darkness. It's strange how an argument can feel like both an ending and a beginning. A painful rupture that forces us to confront what we really mean to each other and what we're willing to fight for. I don't know what the future holds or if we'll ever fully restore the trust that was lost, but I do know that this experience has changed me, made me more cautious, more aware, and maybe a little more guarded. At the same time, it's taught me about the importance of communication, about facing problems instead of hiding from them, even when it hurts. Maybe that's the hardest lesson of all. So here I am, caught between the past and the unknown, trying to make sense of the mess left behind. Trust issues don't just vanish overnight, and healing takes time, maybe more time than I'm ready to admit. But I'm still holding on to the hope that we can find our way through this, that the argument won't define us, but shape us into something stronger if we're willing to try. It's a fragile hope, and some days it feels like it might slip away completely. But for now, it's enough to keep me moving forward, one uncertain step at a time. I wish I could say that everything has a neat ending, that trust was rebuilt with a few heartfelt talks and apologies. But life isn't always that clean. Sometimes the cracks remain, and you have to learn to live with them. And sometimes, those cracks reveal the true strength of a relationship, showing you where the weak spots are so you can work on them, or sometimes see when it's time to let go. The night of the argument is etched in my memory, not just the harsh words, but the feeling of raw vulnerability beneath it all. It was a moment where everything was laid bare, and nothing would ever be quite the same. I don't have all the answers, and maybe I never will, but sharing this story feels like a step toward understanding, toward accepting that trust is complicated, fragile, and deeply human. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that trust isn't just about believing someone else. It's about being honest with yourself and having the courage to face whatever comes next. And so the story continues, messy and unresolved, full of questions and quiet hopes. Because sometimes the hardest part of trust isn't holding on, it's knowing when to start letting go. That night I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring down into uncertainty. Every word we exchanged seemed to push me closer to the edge, and I wasn't sure if I'd fall or find a way back. I remember the look in his eyes, conflicted, hurt, guarded. It was like we were both fighting invisible battles, trying to protect ourselves from more pain while desperately needing connection. We stumbled through the conversation, each trying to make sense of the chaos. It was raw and imperfect, filled with moments where I wanted to reach out and others where I just wanted to run away. In the aftermath, I felt adrift, like a ship lost at sea without a clear direction. The familiar landmarks of our friendship were gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear of what lay ahead. This argument forced me to question everything I thought I knew about trust and friendship. It made me realize how easily the foundation can crack when honesty is compromised, even in small ways. I've spent countless hours replaying that night in my mind, searching for clues, for moments where I could have stopped the spiral. But some things aren't meant to be controlled, and sometimes the truth is more complicated than we want to admit. Despite the pain, I'm beginning to see that this experience might be a turning point, not just an ending, but an opportunity to rebuild with more awareness and care. I still don't know if we'll ever fully heal or if the trust we lost can be regained, but I'm learning that vulnerability is part of the process, that opening up again is scary but necessary. For now, I'm walking that uneasy path, trying to balance hope with caution, forgiveness with self-protection. It's messy and uncertain, but it's real. The argument that changed everything wasn't just about what was said, it was about what we were afraid to face all along. And maybe, in facing it, we can find a way forward, even if it's not the way we imagined. So I hold on to that fragile hope, even as the doubts linger, because in the end, trust might be the most complicated thing we ever try to build and keep.